I came across a really sweet poem that's called Silent Strong Dad. And it says, he never looks for praises, he's never one to boast, he just goes on quietly working for those who love the most. His dreams are seldom spoken, his wants are very few, and most of the time his worries will go unspoken too. He's there, a firm foundation through all our storms of life, a sturdy hand to hold in times of stress and strife. A true friend we can turn to when times are good or bad. One of our greatest blessings, the man we call dad. I love that. I thought it was very sweet. And if you had such a dad in your life, you should be very, very grateful. And I encourage you to let him know that, to make sure that he realizes how important he was and is in your life. And if he's gone on to the spiritual realm, you're not off the hook, because I would encourage you to do something that would reflect the best part of him, to engage in an activity and remember him while you're doing it, to reflect the best part of him. My dad was really a very charitable person. He could not tolerate seeing someone on the side of the road that he thought was homeless. So yesterday, as I was pulling out of Publix, I saw this little lady who had one of her signs, set a sign up that she was needing help, and so I gave her $5. And when I did that, I was remembering this is what my dad would have wanted me to do, and so I was honoring him in doing it. And if you will do that, it will deepen that stream of energy that you have coming into your life, that dad energy of support and encouragement, and not only support and encouragement, that energy to get back out there in the game. You know, I talked about Mother's Day. That's the nurturing, loving, come in and let's have a cup of tea and talk about problems. The dad energy is rub some dirt on the hurt and get back out there. And we need both of those. So if you want to send a wonderful bouquet of love to your dad in the spirit world, go out and do something that would make him feel proud. Now, if you didn't have a dad in your life that is like the dad of the poem, that is loving and supporting and encouraging, I think you can do much what I do, is say, well, okay, life, you owe me one. You owe me. And then look for that love and support and give gratitude for that love and support, how you find it in life. There's a funny little verse in the Bible. It's probably somewhere in, I don't know where it's at, it's probably somewhere in Deuteronomy. You know, one of those books that go on forever and has all the requirements we're supposed to live up to. And it's a funny little verse because people who read the Bible literally don't really know what to make of it. And they will kind of twist themselves up in all kinds of knots trying to come to an explanation of it. And it's the verse that gives us the time that supposedly we're all given to be alive. It comes out, I think, to about 70 years. And, of course, the problem is, well, some of us live longer than 70, and some of us don't live 70. And so there's people that made all kinds of explanations for it. Well, I kind of have a different interpretation for it. I think what the verse is saying is that we are all given the same allotment in life for the energy of life, for the love and support, success, and happiness. But we get to decide how it shows up. And it shows up in different areas and at different times. And we can decide how much of that energy we want in a particular area of our lifetime. And of course, we can reject it altogether. We can say, no, I don't want happiness. I'm all right with this misery I have in front of me. I'll stick to it. It gives me something to complain about. My friends and relatives are quite interested in it. So I'll stick with the poverty and the loneliness and lack of limitation. But I think we can make changes and say, no, I want more support in my life. I want more love. I want more happiness. I want more health and prosperity. You know, one of the most interesting things I've noticed is that sometimes people who are extremely successful in one area of their life can have quite a deficit in another area of their life. I happened by chance to interact with a woman who was extremely successful. She was about to be CEO of a Fortune 50 company, not 500, Fortune 50 company. It was just kind of by accident that I had to interact with her for a little bit. Now, this lady, who was really a brilliant, beautiful, she was dressed in couture clothes, she was about to make a big mistake in her life. She was about to ruin, really kind of crash and burn her life. And the way that she was about to crash and burn her life was that an old high school sweetheart had shown up on Facebook. Always a dangerous thing. When people ask me, "Are you the Ken Wilcox from Macon?" I always deny it. Yeah. I think he was a communist. He's in Cuba or somewhere. Go look for him there. So this old high school flame had shown up in her life. And this lady had a husband, she had kids, and she was debating where to run off with this guy. Now, this guy, now I'm telling you the truth, this actually happened. I'm not changing any of it, because when I tell you this, you're going to be like, no, Ken, this actually happened. This guy had showed back up in her life. He was like 55. He was telling her that he was an ex-CIA agent working undercover, living in the basement of his parents' house, needing money, needing money. And she asked me, "Do you think it's true?" And the first thing I told her, because I used to live in D.C., and when I was younger, and you would run into people in D.C. that would kind of have these sort of stories. And the first thing I told her, I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "But I think if you work with the CIA, the first thing they tell you, don't tell anybody." Don't tell them you work with the CIA. You deliver pizzas. You know, yeah. So now I think she straightened up, and I think she managed to work through that problem. But again, here's this woman brilliant in one area, another area not so much. So we can let these energies flow. Now, if you didn't get the love and support you needed from Dad, I believe that only means that you have love and support coming to you from another area of your life. You didn't get it from Dad, so it's coming in from someone else, somewhere else. If you can, this is a big if you can move past the hurt and anger and disappointment. And that's a big one, because it will come from another area, but you will always have that place. You didn't get it from the Dad you're supposed to get it from. But, like of all life, if you can keep yourself open, if you can keep yourself free of resentment, it will come in an even greater way, because life is forever evolving, and so if you're willing to be open, it will come to you, shaken down in full measure and overflowing. But you have to, like I said, be willing to work with the law, to be able to work with life, the way things work. Now, if you want to kind of prime the pump to get this energy flowing through your life, go out and be that sort of person, that kind of Dad energy, that protective and encouraging and inspiring energy. First to yourself, and then to people around you. Now, if you really think you're up for the graduate school of spiritual advancement, if you really think, okay, I'm ready to take on the senior level courses, here's something else you can do. Send love and support. You can do it in consciousness. You don't have to do it person to person. Send love and support to that person who was supposed to be Dad in your life but wasn't able to do it. Now, that can be really tough, but it can be extremely powerful. Now, my dad, by the time that I came into his life, he had most part, both spiritually, emotionally, and in whatever way, checked out. He had pretty much left the building. And for a long time, I was very angry about that, but I have come to understand why. It makes perfect sense. He had some really brutal experiences that just left him drained. He didn't have it. He had grown up in the Depression. His mother had died when he was 3. He had a really not nice stepmother. When he was 18, he was shipped off to war. So this kid going from Wilcox County, yes, there's a Wilcox County in Georgia, very rural. I'm not even sure he had ever seen a movie in his lifetime. Had certainly never seen the ocean. Was put aboard a soldier transport ship and sent to fight in Okinawa. And he talked about the sheer horror of being on this huge transport vessel. There were 3 of them in a convoy. And the waves of the Pacific were so mountainous that one of the ships would disappear behind the waves and then reappear again. And that image just filled him with awe. So now I try not to dwell on the times that he wasn't there. And I try to have more compassion and understanding. And when I'm really feeling that supportive and encouragement energy, I try to send it to him. And I try to think of that 18-year-old boy who had never seen the ocean, on that transport, going to war. And I send that boy love and encouragement. And I believe that it does something for him, and I know it does something for me. I know it empowers me. I know it gives me courage. And best of all, it frees me from any kind of resentment and victimhood and all that nonsense. And it opens up wide a channel of energy for love and support and encouragement, empowering me in my life. You can do the same. This past Friday, I had to go to an internment service where we took the ashes of Kathy Cannon and Star Esselman and we interred them in the Veterans Graveyard up in Jacksonville. And so I've been thinking about Kathy Cannon a good bit this past week. And as I was thinking about that dad energy in my life, and particularly when I read that poem, I realized, I said, if you just took the pronouns of that poem and just changed them from he to she, it would perfectly reflect the person that Kathy Cannon is. That silent, supportive, nurturing, quiet, yet strong and steady person. So it allowed me to give gratitude to Kathy, that she was able to be that person, one of the people in my life. As I said, when you open yourself up, it's not one person, it shows up in many areas. Friedrich Nietzsche said that if you don't have a great father in your life, you have to invent one. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. And you create a great father when you know that energy comes through you, that you have a father within that will never disappoint you, never leave you. And best of all, you get to decide how much of it you want to acknowledge and experience in your life. Now, what was it, a month or a half or so ago, we celebrated Mother's Day. And at that time, I mentioned there was an energy to that season. And in some ways, that energy reflects the roles that mom and dad play in our lives. Mother's Day is in springtime, when you can take almost anything, any seed or bulb, and put it into the ground, and it's going to show, it's going to grow. It's going to have some possibilities of growth. But now we're heading into summer, and the energy has changed. Now we're in the serious time of growth. The seed or bulb has used the nutrients that it had within itself, and now it has to reach out to the soil to provide the nutrients and moisture. Dr. Holmes, the founder of our teaching, he said, all of creation is based on love and law. Love and law. Love is the nurturing energy. Law is the way things work, the way life works. We have to be cognizant of it, and we have to work with the way things work, because otherwise we can't live a healthy, productive life. This past spring, when I was trying to put out some plants around the house, I got 3 baskets of begonias. I thought I would put them on the front porch. And I had them out there for a couple of weeks, and I soon noticed that they were withering. It didn't matter how much water I was giving them, those guys were not happy on the front porch. And what I realized was that the morning sun was just blasting them for about 5 hours. They weren't going to be happy with that amount with the sun. Now the begonias had a desire to bloom or to be creative. They had a desire to be expressive of God's love in the physical. But they were getting too much sun, and that's the law. That's the law. That's the way things work, specifically to begonias. Now, I could have gotten all upset about the begonias. I could have blamed myself. I could have told myself I don't have a green thumb. I don't know what plants to buy. I could have blamed the house that's in the wrong position. But none of that was going to make any difference. Those plants were not going to thrive where they are. Now, finally, I had the good sense to realize you need some shade. So I moved them to a shady part of the yard, and they're doing just fine. That's working with the law. Seeing the reality of a situation and say, I have to bend and tweak so that I can work with the situation. Dr. Holmes says that there's this creative medium we call law. We merely use it. Instead of concentration, we need faith. We should always have a happy attitude towards the law, towards the way things work. We should have, and we can only have this happy attitude if we have a fundamental belief that life works out for our good. One of the things I have noticed with very successful people is they do have a firm belief that things work out for them, that if they put in the work, that things work out for them. And they will look for signs and signals on how they need to shift and tweak their movement. And we should do that as well. Although I do realize that sometimes it's very easy to stay focused and almost addictive to stay focused on the things that don't work for us and use them for justification. So instead of looking at the begonias and saying I don't have a green thumb or I don't know what plants to buy, I should congratulate myself. Hey, I'm keeping an eye on parts of my life, and I know how to move things around so that they can work out better. Now, either of those decisions, I don't have a green thumb or I'm smart enough to know how to move things around, are going to confirm my idea for me of how life works for me. They're going to confirm it. And what will happen is they will reflect back to me more experiences that will deepen that confirmation. There'll be more experiences that come into my life that'll make me realize that's right. And it won't just happen with the plant. It can happen with the car. It can happen with the career. It can happen with my health. There'll be more experiences that show back up to me that are like, right, don't make good decisions, or I make good decisions and I handle my resources correctly. And then there will be new challenges that will show up that will add to my conclusion. Dr. Holmes says we should realize that this act of creation is silent and invisible, but it's also irresistible. It will bring to our experiences the thing we need if we trust its power. And how do we trust it? With a determination to focus on the yes part of our life and release the no part. I realized the other day how much of my time I spend on thinking of things I don't want in my life, rather than staying focused on things I would like to have in my life. And if you can't just do it for one thing. You should do it for many things. Focus on many things you would like to have in your life. Think of all the things Spirit desired when it unfolded the idea of creation. Everything from the wings of the butterfly to the rings of Saturn, to the leaf of the azalea, to the eyes of a gnat. All those things Spirit desired when creation was unfolded. So we should have lots of things we desire in our life, from the small to the great, from the natural to the miraculous. Make a game of it. And if it doesn't work out, if you don't get what you want, spin the wheel again. As I told you on Friday, I had a memorial service to go to. And this is something probably a lot of you don't know, but we administer a memorial service in June in North Florida, and a cemetery is generally a very hot and miserable situation. So I kept putting in mind, this is going to be a cool and comfortable service. This is going to be cool and comfortable. We get up there and it's perfectly organized. They get us to this great pavilion that has a high ceiling, open walls, and these wonderful fans. It couldn't have been more comfortable. I put that into mind, and it showed up. And that's what we can do. Keep putting what you want into mind. Work with law to create a thriving, creative life. There's an energy within us that wants to bloom, to be something, to create something, to experience something, to help something. And we can encourage this as we keep throwing ideas back in mind. This is what I would like to experience. More plants around the house, more prosperity, more health, more friendship, more laughter. Joel Goldsmith, some of you may have read some of his writings. He told his son, he said, if you're ever in a bad situation, he said, what you need to do, he says, just get very quiet. And he says, and realize, he says, closer than your feet, your eyes, is the presence of God. And he says, when you're in a problem, he says, just feel that presence. Take a minute or two and feel that presence. And he says, don't articulate any of the problem. Don't even think about the problem. Just feel the presence of Spirit. I know you may ask, well, why shouldn't we articulate the problem? I have this problem. Why shouldn't I mention it? And it's because you've already put too much energy into it. You've already talked about it enough. Spirit already knows the problem. Just feel the presence of Spirit. It's very powerful. That's a wonderful and good practice. And I'd like to even encourage you to do something else. When you're going through your day and you see something really beautiful, the begonias deciding to bloom again, take that moment and feel the presence of God. When you're looking out on the intercoastal and a boat is sailing by, feel the presence of God. When you see somebody doing something really generous and kind, drink that in and feel the presence. And don't worry about your problems. Instead, take a focus on the love and joy and creativity and happiness coming into our life. I was at Publix yesterday and I saw this big guy walking around Publix. He had his little guy on his shoulders, and this little guy had the cookies that Publix gives out to kids. He was basically using his dad's head as a platter. He had a 5-year-old, the older sister, and I was raised with 3 older sisters, so I know this type. The older sisters was telling the dad what to buy for whatever they were getting. And there he was, a little guy on top of a little 5-year-old leading him, and he was allowing it all to happen. And I just drank that moment in. This is the presence of Spirit in my life. And when we look for it, when we recognize it, when we give gratitude for it, it empowers us. And we see more of it. And we become more of it. And it's what we're here to do. But we want to take time to feel and listen, and it will encourage us. That feeling and listening and will encourage us to know something better about ourselves, to see something better about ourselves. And those problems that we think we can't solve, they'll fall away. Because there's no problem to God. There's no problem any of us are faced that are ever a problem to Spirit. So this morning I encourage you to know you have a Father within, and that Father has never left you. That Father has never been disappointed in you. That Father believes in you, inspires you, wants you to go out there and be the best you can be. Be the most loving, the most kind, the most courageous, the most dynamic, because you have been called by name from stardust to be what you are. And what you are is a brilliant, wonderful, bright light of God, made manifest in the here and now, and there is nothing that you can't accomplish. There's nothing that you can't do. God has faith in you, and so do I. You're the best idea Spirit ever had for your life, and you are the wonder of life. This is the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.